This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon, everyone. What a magnificent way to start with the African elephant. This is awesome. Well, welcome aboard and grab a seat for your live safari through the African bush. Look at this. I'm so glad to be starting this very warm afternoon out on Djuma Game Reserve with some elephants. Hi everyone, my name is Trishala and I've got Theo on camera this afternoon. Like I said, quite warm. It's about 33 degrees Celsius, 91 degrees Fahrenheit, and a bit of wind every now and then. And it's not just coming from these elephants, it is also coming from the fact that it's that time of the year. Youngsters playing. They're by far the most entertaining things to watch. Oh, don't pull his tail. Listen to them feeding. Remember, you can ask any questions you like using that hashtag #WildEarth. We would love to hear from you. Remember, this is happening live. This is your safari. So interact with us. Oh, even the elephant agrees with me. see that their ears are flapping. They're trying to keep themselves cool. As they flap, they create a bit of a breeze, and that breeze goes over the back of their ears, where there's a huge collection of blood vessels. Now, if those blood vessels stay nice and cool, then the blood traveling around their body can be nice and cool too. Very relaxed, and it looks like they might be making their way to a water hole. And I am going to follow them so that we can have that spectacular sighting.
We've beaten you to it this afternoon, but to be fair, this watering hole has been busy all day long. It just hasn't stopped. And of course, you're here at Pridelands with us and the elephants. There's quite a few of them. They've been coming and going, breeding herds, and then, of course, all the bulls. My name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me today is Sebastian Rombi. And it's hot. We're sitting in the shade, and we're probably going to chase the shade for most of the day and actually just spend it here at Ndlovu Dam because, well, you can see all the animals are there. Well, there they are. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a fifth bull walking in the distance. And if you look hard enough, you might be able to see some others. But there's been giraffe that have come down to drink, the impala, the warthogs. And if you did watch the sunrise safari with us, you would have heard me mention that elephants like to take siestas. And the funniest thing is that none of the breeding herds left camp. They actually all just lined up. They look very much like these bulls are standing right now, but they were standing under trees in the drainage line right next to the eco-training camp. Now, Leslie, it's really awesome, this discussion about elephants and sort of their longevity. So elephants can live for a very long time, but if they had a couple more sets of teeth that came through, they'd probably live for a little bit longer. So essentially what determines most of the time an elephant's age, and elephants do typically live out most of their life, or their expected lifespan, and essentially they've got 6 sets of teeth that come through at varying times. Now, their teeth wear down a lot quicker depending on what type of vegetation that they eat. And this, of course, changes from individual to individual. So unfortunately, once their teeth start to disappear and start to grind down to almost nothing, then that is, well, the end of their time. Not suddenly, but it happens over a long period, and unfortunately, they just end up withering away.
Jumbo, jumbo, hello, good afternoon everybody, and welcome to the Masai Mara. And just like Taylor, who had some elephants, we also got similar elephants here. Apparently, we all call them African elephants, and they are the same species. Now, the beautiful savanna habitat that we all know of the Masai Mara, and one more time, a warm good afternoon. Welcome to the Masai Mara. On camera with me today is Bungei. My name is David. I almost forgot to introduce myself. And Bungei is very excited to see elephants because this morning he says we did not see a single elephant. So here, to have this small family of elephants is something very exciting. And the first thing I want us to look, it is just that landscape of the Masai Mara. It's a pretty warm day today, very warm afternoon, 26 degrees Celsius or 79 degrees Fahrenheit. Questions, I'm sure you've already been told. Comments are always very, very welcome. You can tweet to us, #WorldEarth. For the youngsters, kids' questions at worldearth.tv on email. We'll be happy also to hear from you, or at FC in the comment sections of the YouTube chat channels. Now, I'm surprised these Ellies are out in this kind of heat. I would expect them to be under some shade, because you've got so many balanite trees, or so many shepherd trees as we call them sometimes, around them. And if you look at them carefully, they got two youngsters, two young calves there. And you'll notice the calves, to me, they're trying to shelter themselves from the heat by going under the bellies of their mothers or their aunties. It's just because of the heat. If you look carefully, you can see it's a bit of shimmering there. And even that calf is on the other side, because I would say the sun is slowly going towards the west. And this calf is on the right side, where it's enjoying, I would say, the shadow of the mother. Rick, how are you today? And always a pleasure to hear your name. In general, anything from 2 to 2.5 years, most calves will start showing the first teeth, or they'll start showing their tusks. So it may depend, of course, genetically. Just like human beings, we are different. There could be a bit of delay as when we get our teeth as human beings, and it will be the same case to the elephants. So anything 2, 2.5, and sometimes 3 years is a good time or a good age for these calves to start getting their teeth, and or rather their tusks. And if you look carefully there, none of those two youngsters there got tusks. And Rick, I'm sure you have seen so many adult elephants without tusks. And it's always either genetic or something would have happened to them. So you see, that one to me is pretty big. It should be having some tusks, but I cannot see any in it. And you notice once in a while they flap their ears just to cool off, because it's truly very hot at the moment. I can feel the heat myself. And I expected these elephants to take advantage of all those trees that you see there, bosque trees, the shepherd trees, just to keep cool. But knowing elephants eat so much, well, maybe they still have to keep eating. And below, down there in the green bushes, there's a little swamp. And as you can see them feeding, heading that direction, my guess is they'll end up having a drink when they get there. Well, remember, we are coming to you live from the Masai Mara Game Reserve. Well, as I said earlier, my guess is those ellies, if you look at them carefully, the destination will be down in the bushes there for a drink, because it's rather hot. I mean, once in a while we'll see this. There's always something that will go against the norm. But generally, with this kind of heat of the day, out of my experience, you'll get ellies trying to get shades under very solid trees. And especially if they have youngsters like the ones we're seeing on the screen there.
What an elephantastic start, don't you think? This girl here came quite close. Still very relaxed. Look at that, resting the trunk on the ground. Still with these elephants, and they're being amazing. A bit of dust bathing going on here, half-heartedly, I think. And then they start again. They're listening, they're trying to figure out where they want to go next, who we are, what we're doing, where are all their herd members. So much to talk about. Remember, this is happening live, everyone, so please use the hashtag WildEarth and chat to us. There she's resting her trunk on the ground again, which is really nice to see, because she's putting her trunk on the ground to receive vibrations, infrasonic sound that comes through, that'll be carried through the ground, and that's an extra way for her to pick up on those sounds. She'll be very still when she's doing this, and then you'll see she'll suddenly come out of it. There we go. Can you hear that breaking branches a little further in the drainage there? This herd is quite substantial. So far we must have seen about 25 individuals, and I think there's more to come. Again, she's listening. Lots to talk about, I'm sure. We only hear such a small range. So wonderful to be this close to them, where they decided to come to us, very relaxed, and we are very fortunate.
Welcome to a nice and hot afternoon on and beyond Pinder. My name is Dewald, and behind the camera we've got Craig. And we have found a warthog carcass this afternoon. It's quite a fresh one, and for those of you that want to maybe look away, now is the time, because it is quite gruesome. It is a warthog carcass from a lioness. We heard the warthog being caught earlier this afternoon around about 12:30. It's now just after 3. The lioness is not here, so we think she's maybe gone and called or gone and fetched the rest of the pride. You can see there's quite a bit that's been eaten out of the neck there, and there is a few claw marks on the side. So, and obviously this warthog is full of mud. So it seems like this lioness caught this warthog just as it was coming out of the mud wallow, or maybe even inside the mud wallow, and pulled it into the shade here. We are sitting underneath quite a lot of fever trees, so we are very close to a dry riverbed, which has a lot of water in it during the the summer months, but during the winter months here, it's quite dry, and that's why it's quite muddy from drying up throughout the winter. So it's been quite a bit. We've been here for about half an hour now, waiting to see if this lioness comes back. I think we'll wait here for a little bit longer, but if she doesn't come back, then we'll maybe leave this area, go look for other animals, and then come back again, because it might be that she's walking quite a distance to try and find the rest of the pride and bring them in this direction, which makes me think that it's maybe a female with subadults, or with the other lions that are dependent on her. Quite sad to see a warthog die, but there is other mouths that are being fed, especially if this lioness has gone to fetch quite a few other lions. And we are literally a couple of 100 meters away from Mountain Lodge in the south of the reserve. And we heard it actually from our accommodation. But for now, I think Craig and I are just going to hang around here and see if that lioness returns.
we're just watching this elephant dig its way down into the earth via a mud wallow. I can't believe how deep it's actually got now. It's completely sunken in a muddy jacuzzi. Except the water's all starting to dry out now. Someone's going to have to stand there and splash some more water in that puddle, because at this rate it's going to dry up very, very quickly. It's so nice, yeah. I always say this, but it really is cool. Billy, you're very funny. You said it's been a elorific drive. Yes, very clever with your words. It has indeed, and we're very lucky because sometimes you can go for a long time without seeing elephants. I know at Djuma it used to happen to us where they just weren't feeding in that area and they were migrating, doing these little mini migrations and moving off to other parts, and sometimes it would be weeks, you know. So here at Pridelands, I am very thankful for every single day being surrounded by elephants. I mean, it was quite something about, a week ago now, or maybe not quite a week ago, where we went a few days where we just had elephant bulls and we were missing the breeding herds. And even then it became difficult to try and find the bulls. So I don't want that to happen again. So I'd rather just have an influx of elephants all day long, and that will suit us just fine. And Sebastian and I were just talking about it. They're always doing something. And especially here at the dam, they're constantly playing with one another, or they're tossing mud over their bodies, or chasing warthogs and impala away from the edge of the water. But these are the last two. So far, I did hear some tusks clashing, or it sounded like tusks behind the dam wall, so I think the next lot of elephants are probably going to come on in at some point. And the big herd of buffalo, the breeding herd that we've been seeing quite regularly, they sort of just dip to the west or to the south and then circle back and come around to the watering hole. So sorry, can I please have that question just one more time? B, now, I don't think there's any particular preference as to what sand or type of soil that these animals will use to cover their bodies. I think they take whatever they can kind of get. Obviously what they've got at the moment, it looks like very dark, almost like black cotton soil, which is great because it only takes a little bit of moisture before it becomes easy to apply onto one's body. I'm imagining the elephants. So yeah, I don't think it's anything in particular that they choose. And then when it comes to sand, obviously they want the finest sort of sand because it sticks to the mud a lot easier. If the grains of sand are too coarse, they'll probably fall off, and then it defeats the whole purpose of having a dust bath. So typically with dust bathing, it's the finer particles that they're after. Off they go. Two boys, probably going to go and have a scratch up on a tree because that's what elephants like to do.
Lots of them have moved past us, but we still have a few members of the herd in front of us. They all look quite muddy. And they're coming from the south, so perhaps they were at the southern watering hole, Twin Dams. And then threw some dust over them. Some sand, and now it's all cracked. Oh. This large female has some really nice tusks. It's elephantastic. Yes. Just gorgeous. Well, if they move, I will too. Everybody is making quite a move now in the direction of more water. Me. Lots of talking, I'd imagine. Lots of communication. So many different sized elephants. Tiny little ones, 2, 3-year-olds. There's even a few about 8-year-olds. Oh, somebody's blocking the gap there. Got to push through. Oh, I love spending time with elephants. Just love it. I could sit for hours with them. And the fact that this is live means that you get to sit for hours with them too. Or at least for the hour. Well, at least they're moving quite quickly now.
Good afternoon, everyone. I believe that you all have a beautiful afternoon. Here we are sitting with a beautiful animal, plain zebra or petrol zebra it's called. Looks like there's more on the back there, so it could be more in this area, in this head. Hi everyone, welcome aboard to you on Safari Live here in Djuma. And my name is Andrew, very new into this area. And then I'm not alone. I'm going with DK. So zebra, looks like more of them there. They're all spread around. It's too thicket for us to see all of them together. But we only see the bigger female that we're looking at right now, close to us. So they're one of the animals that they don't really mind about this area being so slightly open perch. So this is where they can able to get to feed around here. Where in a thicket during the pouring rain season, they seems to be disappeared out of here, then played harder for everyone to get to see even a single zebra sometimes. So here we're more blessed this time of year that you still get to see more than one. Unfortunately, the riders, like I said, they're much too thicket for us to be able to see them. Momo, thanks for such a beautiful question. So I always, believe that they above combined stripe, white and black. But of course, they are a black and white stripe animal there. Beautiful, as we zoom in there, you're able to see the shaded stripe. As a plain zebra, slightly far difference to most of the other zebra as we refer to mountain zebra and the gravy zebra, where you only see the narrow black and white stripe, those in this one. But also, the stripe are more across belly to the other side, which these then, they go down kind of like in the middle of the belly, then their end. That's where the center line of both skin from the other part and the other part meet up. see the fall there coming out at the back. Looks like there's a young one. Like we mentioned that there are more of them in the wood.
Hello and good afternoon, good people. Here, look what I found. Yes, a very good afternoon. My name is Isaac, and on camera I have Big James, and we've come to Maji and Ndege. It's called Water of the Birds, and we're going to share with you a few birds that are us. And so, to start with, I don't know what Big James is going to start with, but over there, who is there? Let's have a look. Good. Yeah, there we go. We have a yellow beanstalk. This looks like a very nice place. Look how he's moving his legs, or, I would say it's a her. She's moving her legs, hunting, with stealth, beak open, ready to spook that fish with its legs and the beak to grab it. You see how it, probes with the legs. And over here we have sacred ibis, cattle egrets. The sacred ibis are found in sub-Saharan Africa all the way to Arabia. They have other species that are found in the Arab countries, but in Africa we have the sacred ibis. Remember, the sacred ibis gets its name sacred from the Egyptian god Thoth. Yeah, that's why it's called sacred. And who else do we have here? We have, that's a black-headed. Let's have a look. It's been hidden by the sacred ibis. I need to really have a look. Yeah, black-headed heron. Yeah, over there. Also, it's another one with long legs. It tells you that it's a good fisher bird. Yeah, loves places with water and fish. And over here, who do we have? Oh, look at that. Look at that. There is a buffalo there. I don't know if he's stuck or not, or he's playing hide and seek. Hey, this is a place you don't want to miss him when you're walking there to wash your hands. Oh, no. Look at him. Very good camouflage. You wouldn't say he's there. And if you didn't know what you're looking for, you'd just walk right into him. Yeah, that's a fully grown buffalo. I think it has been very hot for him. You can tell he's panting really fast. You can see a rocking movement. It means that he's breathing very fast. Yeah, they do sometimes submerge themselves to cool down. It's very normal for this time of day. It is quite hot. It is almost 28 degrees Celsius here in the Masai Mara. Remember, we're at the equator, and at that, heat, it's quite hot. It does cool down from around 5 o'clock. Who else do we have here? Oh, another sacred ibis, very, very busy, probing with its long beak inside those water lettuce. Yeah, the water lettuce is, it's exotic, cabbage. I don't know how it came to be here, but it was brought down by water, never existed here. Does clog up. Yeah, we have, it clogs up, rivers that don't flow very fast. But here we're lucky, the Mara River does flow. Remember, this is an overflow from the main river, so this is not a river. But it's still, we do find lots of critters in this, overflow of the main river. Behind there is the big forest, and behind is the Mara River.
That's what I did.
Okay, we're back here at the marsh, and
Still, I was telling you about the forest back there. The Mara River is back there, and that is one of the habitats that we have.
Somebody's full-bodied in. Do I even have to say anything? Just listen to this. Time of their life, and I'm a little bit envious. Hi, Primrose. You'd like to know if elephants are good swimmers? They are. It's hard to think that an elephant can swim, but it certainly can. Sometimes you'll see their whole bodies in the water. The difficulty with seeing elephants swim is finding a place where it would be deep enough that you could actually see them swim, but they definitely can, and they're good at it. In fact, most mammals can swim, except for a few primates that struggle. Isn't that just beautiful? Penelope, you say, what a view. What a view indeed. The dams will be teeming with life at the moment. This is a really nice, dry, hot day. It's definitely telling us that the heat in spring is around the corner. There's impalas, there's elephants. I wonder if somebody stepped on somebody else's tail there. There's some impala as well. And we've got our 2 hippos in the dam also. I don't know how happy they are about the herd intrusion. They did really give the elephants quite a dirty look. Almost all of them are completely wet. The impala, they're trying to figure out whether they should go down themselves. There's another smaller pan up there where they'll have a drink. There you can see one's mouth dripping. Look how shiny they are. They're so playful, and even when adults get to the water, they are playful too, dunking themselves fully in, splashing water on each other. Oh, there's somebody on the ground there, rubbing themselves in the mud. They've gone over to the shallower section of the dam. It's quite amusing to see them get up from that position. Crinton, you'd like to know if elephants can get water in their ears? I'm sure they can, just like we can get water in ours. They don't have any way of blocking their ear opening. And just like us, it doesn't happen as much as... I mean, I've never had water stuck in my ear. It doesn't happen to the point where you seriously can't hear. Well, at least not for me. But I'm sure some people do get that. And I'm sure some elephants become a little bit irritated with water stuck in their ears. But they don't have any mechanism to stop water getting into their ears. Ears, by definition, need sound to travel into them. So if you block them up, you're not going to be able to hear as well. I was almost about to say you're not going to be able to hear as well. Look at this one trying to get up. Oh, they struggle in the mud. Very, very amusing. Oh, you almost sat on top of another. Rubbing themselves in that nice mud. Made it. Look at this one. Hi, Alex. You're 7 years old. You want to know how much elephants weigh on average? Well, a cow, so female, weighs about 3 to 4 tons. On average, is somewhere between there. And a big, large bull can weigh as much as 6 tons, but you're looking closer to about 5 tons on average. Here's the hippos. Still looking unimpressed, but to be honest, I'm not sure what an impressed hippo looks like.
So the next of the animals that's slowly made its way down for afternoon drink, and this is the giraffe. Well, a southern giraffe. It's just one. There's a whole bunch more on their way too. They're just taking their time. Giraffe don't like to do anything particularly quickly. Actually, none of the animals, other than if you're a hyena and you're devouring a meal, they tend to eat that quite quickly, but otherwise everybody else seems to be graceful. And those birds hanging on for dear life as the giraffe moves off, those were oxpeckers, which we should see a fair few of, and they're quite happy to be dangling off the giraffe neck, especially on a hot day when they come down to the water. They just get a free ride all the way here, then they pop down, have a drink, maybe have a little bath in the water too, and then up they go back onto the giraffe to continue feeding. I think that's a perfect life. Actually, I think an oxpecker is a very much overlooked animal, and I would quite like to be an oxpecker for a day. I don't know about feeding on parasites and specifically feeding on blood, but anyways, each to their own. I suppose it's a niche thing, but it must be cool to be able to dangle around on a giraffe like that. But here come the other two, just off to the right, that probably won't partake in any mud wallowing like the other animals we've been seeing. They barely want to get their noses wet. You'll see when they stretch on down to drink some water. But giraffe don't have to drink water all the time. Just every now and then. And on these exceptional days, if there's a dam nearby, then or a river or anything where there's water, they'll come and have a sip. But otherwise, they can go for fairly long periods without water. Look at that. Isn't that quite spectacular? That's a long way down. Oh, love that classic, that signature sort of S that they create when they shake their heads after they've had a drink. Also watching the oxpeckers get thrown off is great. But it must be difficult for the giraffe to have their heads all the way down there, especially when they need to look for any predators that could be coming from behind. There we go. Oh, how I would like to be on the other end of that giraffe and get splashed by water. That would be great. Oh, that was a big spray. Hey, that was like a world record of spraying. Do you... Oh, no, I might have to be quiet again now, but I do want to tell you something funny. Do you think oxpeckers have competitions, and there is a competition of who can hold on to the giraffe neck, like some kind of bronco giraffe rodeo that all oxpeckers train for? Who knows? That's just a thought. But I'm going to be quiet now because I think we might be coming out of our ad break. And I must behave. Oh, there's another elephant. Oh, those impala don't stand a chance. Welcome back to your live African safari, where elephants just keep filling your screens this afternoon, but it is a really beautiful day across South Africa. Although the wind is just picking up a little bit here in the Lowveld. But remember to send on in your questions. You can use the hashtag WildEarth or comment away on the various social media platforms. This is an elephant splashing itself with mud. He's also just chased a herd of impala. He came at quite a speed down the hill. You can see he wasn't impressed now with the impala. You gave them a fright. Now they're just coming down for a drink and then quickly popping back over the dam wall again. Everybody is very thirsty. I don't blame them. I'm sure some of these impala herds have been here twice or even more times today. What are you doing, boy? That's the wallowing spot over there. That's where it all happens. They're now increasing it in size because the one place that they have started wallowing has got particularly deep, and I don't think it's very nice for them to climb in and out without risking bruising their egos by slipping and falling onto their faces, because that's the only thing they will hurt. They're pretty big and tough creatures, but this is a much better spot, and then also there's a fair amount of water there. slushy mud is the best. Elaine, yes, elephants do indeed lay down to sleep. If you had asked me this question a couple of years ago, I probably would have said no, not that often. But in my years of guiding throughout, or in various different places and watching elephants of all kinds, they do indeed lay down. And they do it quite often. And some of them like to lay down for a long time. However, that's not necessary for an elephant to get rest, to lay down. They can stand up and do it. And they kind of just switch off. And sometimes they'll cross one of their back legs. You can see that they will relax. And it's happened all day long outside the eco training camp, just under all the big knobthorn trees and apple leaves. They've been having great siestas. But then they came down for one more mud bath, and now they're off on an eating adventure.
Good afternoon, and welcome to all our viewers to Ambient Gala, which this afternoon, it is extremely hot here, and we have some wildebeest. And they are currently busy moving about. We're not sure exactly where, but when we arrived here, they were calling towards each other. Now, my name is Yapi, and behind the camera we have Gerrit. And this afternoon, we set out towards a watering hole, because we thought we might get to see some animals there. And there were lions at the watering hole this morning. Unfortunately, they're not there at the moment anymore. And we suspect that they might have moved towards the northern side of the watering hole, which is in the direction where we came to check. And you can see this is quite a few wildebeest. And they've just picked up the pace. You can see some of them are quite excited. They're throwing their heads around. You can hear some of them calling further towards the front, almost like an alarm call. And initially they started out, there was one male further off. Some of them were calling at that one. Now the rest have all started following directly in the same direction. Now what's interesting is the direction that they're moving towards is where that watering hole is, where the lions were. Now I think from here they've disappeared, so we're going to continue along. We'll check some clearings up ahead and make our way slowly back towards that watering hole. So the watering hole, because it's so hot at this stage, there's not a lot of animals nearby, but I'm pretty sure with this breeze it's just intensified a little bit. Some of the animals, like those wildebeest, might think that it's a little bit cooler to make the journey all the way down towards the watering hole. And that's what we're hoping for. So we're slowly going to head back to that direction, and hopefully by the time we get there, it's cool enough that even the lions might decide to come down and have a drink.
Someone's just come from the water. All of them just come from the water. Oh, a very strong display from this young boy. And that's a different type of strength that we're seeing there. Wow. Little ones are always so curious. Little tusks peeking out. That starts to happen between about 2 and 3 years old. Oh no, you dropped the food you just picked up with your trunk. It's a practicing. If we look over on this side, you'll see what it's meant to look like. She'll pull some grass. Round, round, and pull. Cut with the leg. hit against her. And that's to remove any dust, any sand on it. This little one has seen the adults do it, and it's just not very good just yet. Yeah, let's throw some sand on myself instead. Cenac, you'd like to know what tree species they feed on the most? Oh, that's a difficult one because they really love certain trees. Sandpaper raisin is definitely one that they enjoy very, very much. Marulas, even the leaves, they really like it. They love good juicy grasses as well. It's actually easier to tell you the ones that they least prefer. So, silver cluster leaf, they'll go for when they're feeling less picky. Magic quarries, you'll always find those two, kind of the leftovers. They always pick their favorite Smarties first. And those are favorites. Combretums, those are the bush willows, marulas, and those sandpaper raisins.
From elephants to more elephants, but quite far away from where you could see those ones. These ones are in Masai Mara, and we are in the Mara Triangle, a beautiful herd. It has separated into two. There is one headed into the bush there, as you can see. For some reason, something has agitated them, and they have decided to go back into the bush. I cannot blame them. They have very young ones, and they have to be very, very protective. Here, there is plenty of shrub, bushes, and grass to eat, and that's why they're all here. I think that's the reason. Yeah, there is a big bull way back there. Yeah. There is a big bull way back there. Yeah, looks like a bull. Does it? Yeah, looks like it, but it's hard to tell. He's in a big thicket. All those are elephants, all mixed up, young ones, half-growns, sub-adults. Everybody is here. The small herd that was heading away looks like one has turned around. So it looks like it's turning back. It's getting comfortable, eating lots of wiregrass. This wiregrass is a very, very hardy kind of grass, and elephants, buffalo, and rhino, white rhino, I mean, are the ones that actually, do eat this grass. Yeah, and looks like that's what they're eating over here. Quite a lot of them over here. You can tell they're all spread out. That young bull is coming out to maybe join the herd that's across the road. Yes. Well, I'll catch up with you later on. Bye-bye. Yes, our bull elephant, a young bull, he's there. He's eating, and I'm hoping he's going to come and cross the road. By the reason I say he's a bull, I can tell, his tusks look very much like a bull. Of course, not everybody can tell, but he's a young bull. heading into the bushes there. For some reason, they have retreated back to the bush. I don't know why. Maybe there was a vehicle that came driving really fast here and they decided to retreat back. Those ones are staying way back. They look also like two young bulls, about maybe 4 or 5 years old. It looks like two bulls. Yeah, they can be very playful, but this time they're very serious eating. Fully grown ones eat up to 1/4 of a ton of food every day. This young guy could easily eat 100 kilos. That's around 200 pounds of food every day. So they need constantly to keep feeding. Remember, they're not ruminants. They have a long gut. It takes about 4 days for the food to go through. So they need to fill it up quite, a lot every time. Constantly they have to be eating. They're also water dependent, so they have to drink almost every day. They have to be very close to where there's water, and this is a perfect place for them. Yeah, the bush they are in is called Olekerdengai in Maasai, or Croton dajogamus in Latin. They don't eat it very much, but it repels insects. And here in the Masai Mara, we do find lions, leopards lying, under it, because it does chase away those biting insects like tsetse fly and other biting flies. So in there, I would be guaranteed there is no flies. The long trees there are giant forest mahoganies. Pardon me, but I didn't get that question. Are they related to something? Sorry, are elephants able to do what? I cannot get the last bit. Your comms are too low. I cannot hear you really well, but more elephants here coming out. More elephants. It looks like they're comfortable with me, but not comfortable with something else. When I stay alone, they come out, but if a vehicle passes by, they go back. I don't know what's wrong. Maybe they don't like the noise of rushing vehicles. Compare the two heads of those two elephants there, the one to the left, the big one. You can tell it's got a more sharper forehead, and the one closer, it doesn't have as much as sharper, forehead. That's sometimes how you can tell between males and females. That is a male, closer to us, the smaller one, and the other farther, it's a male. It's a female, sorry. Yeah, that's one way of telling. You can tell there is actually a little bit hot. You can see how their ears are flapping constantly. Yeah, that is a way of cooling off. Yeah, they're flapping their ears. Looks like they're very, very hot. Definitely they are. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna leave you to enjoy that as I go find something else.
So over here it's also very, very hot. And we came across this scene while we're going towards the watering hole. You can see there's a giraffe stepping in at the back as well. This is pretty amazing. And because it is so hot, I'm wondering, those two southern ground hornbills in front of that giraffe, they're busy eating what looks like either a tortoise or a terrapin. The reason I'm saying it's a terrapin is that when I had a look through the binoculars, it looks like quite a smooth shell. The only other tortoise in this area that would be as large as that, the leopard tortoise, doesn't quite have the same shell. But it's tough to say. Now just have a look at that. You can see that one's pulling off pieces. It lowers its head all the way down to the ground and then kind of stab it inside the shell of that tortoise or terrapin. That sounds a bit unbelievable because it is pretty far away from water, this, and especially on a hot day like this. Who knows, maybe that is why that terrapin, maybe it died of dehydration, or maybe it was on its way somewhere. You can see the bird is really getting in there, trying to well, that's actually pretty amazing. You can see how much force it's putting in to loosen up pieces inside. And then it shakes, it throws its head back to swallow. And this is a pretty unbelievable scene, and I haven't seen it often. In fact, I've only seen it once before. And there's so much questions that come up here. Butterfly, that's a good question. Do these birds have predators? I don't know of any predator specifically that goes after the southern ground hornbill, but I am very sure that any large predator, given the chance, will go after the bird. Maybe even large birds of prey, something like a martial eagle perhaps. And then, of course, the cats. I'm sure if they get the chance, they'll go after them. In fact, at the moment, they are quite exposed. They're right out in the open, and they're eating something. So, like that giraffe that came past earlier, it does draw attention. You can see they're busy sharing the meal. The one's had quite a bit to eat now. It's giving the other one a chance to get some. Now, it is a bit of a tricky meal. And you can see their long, sharp bills is perfectly adapted for something like this. Like a stab, like a big knife. And then once it's inside, it pulls off small pieces that it swallows. You can see the one behind is busy picking up any loose pieces that might have come off while it was shaking it violently. Now, a situation like this is a perfect opportunity to actually view the use of a bird's bill and how effective they use it. This bird is a predatory bird, and I have seen them before even hunt creatures like hare, kind of in a cooperative manner, where the one would try and flush it and the next one would go after it from a nearby perch or running around on the ground, chasing it, and then flying low and try to grab it as it basically jumps from one bush to the next. Tailor-made, will a ground hornbill only look after one chick? They can look after more chicks, and we often see them in groups of 4 to 6 here, where it is usually the two parents, sometimes some of the older offspring that's still with them, and they might help to raise the new offspring. In this particular group, we have only seen 3, and it looks like 2 adults and 1 juvenile. Now, the juvenile have moved somewhere off to the right, and I don't know where it is at the moment, but when we arrived it looked like it had a bit of this terrapin or tortoise, and then it moved off. case like this, this is a pretty large meal, and that's why I think this was found dead rather than killed by them, because we had a bit of rain over the last couple of days, and it's possible that maybe with that rain a terrapin decided it's the best chance to move, and then couldn't make it to water in time once it started heating up and drying out again, and maybe it suffered because of dehydration. These birds are they're moving on the ground. They forage by walking spread out over a clearing like this, and I think they were lucky enough to come across this. So I'm sure they're going to get as much as they can from it. Because it's so well protected by the shell, I think other scavengers, except maybe the hyena, is not as well adapted to getting to the meat inside. But this is amazing. I think myself and Gerrit's going to sit here a little while longer and see if they get to finish this terrapin.
Beautiful to arrive into this dam of Tswalu waterhole. We're sitting right now with African fish eagle, which is just sitting right up in a dead wood. It's probably been around here since, of course, it's a water bird, hunting around a water hole. And then the second one, further away, looks like a couple around here. It's the way together when we just arrived, so one just flew slightly further away from us. Seems to be sitting away, but looking around, observing around. It's a water hole. Thanks, Megan, for a comment. Very good. Just gonna try stick around with this bird, see, because on the other side it looks like now it's looking very much far to the top there, which I can't see. Even when I look, they have incredible eyesight. They can see things that we cannot see. Just on our right hand side as we on near the dam, so there's a hippo.
Very well done, Andrew, to see a fish eagle. And there's also an amphibious close by. Well, looking at a fish eagle here, with Andrew, I'm looking at some scavengers. And there are two of them. And I'm thinking before I tell you anything about them, I would like to ask you who you're looking at. I'll give you the very obvious hint. These are scavengers. They are vultures, but what species of vultures are these? Tweet, #WorldEarth. What vultures do you think when watching the Mara with a beautiful Olololo escarpment in the background? I think I've given you enough hints. The scavengers, the vultures. Which vultures do you think we got on your screen there? #WorldEarth. Or you can also use @FC in the comment section of the YouTube chat channels. Another hint, they always go in twos. Unlike the other vultures, unlike the other species, where you'll see a flock of anything from 5 to 20, 30, 40, 50. Now look on their heads and see they are very bold. They got no feathers, they got no covering on their heads. As you can see, the beaks are hooked because they use them like surgeons. They need to tear off flesh from any kills that is left behind by the would-be big predators. And they are on an either old balanite tree or the shepherd tree. Beautiful to see her put the wings out. My guess is one is a male, the other is a female. That's how they live as a pair. But believe me, I will not be able to tell who is the male or who is the female here. To me, trying to cool off, that's my only guess. Because it has been rather hot this afternoon. Red heads they got. Wrinkled necks. Just trying to give you some clues. And maybe a final clue of all the vultures we got, they are the strongest. Chevy Enjoy, very well done. Chevy Enjoy, very well done. You say Lappet, and this is the Lappet-faced vultures, very well done. You're correct. And another name for them, this we also call them the Nubian vultures. Very well done, Chevy Enjoy. This is the Lappet-faced vultures or the Nubian vultures. In Kenya, we got 7 true vultures. These 2 happen to be the largest and the strongest. And unlike all the other 6, you'll always get them in twos. They will not, go in big flocks, unless, of course, they have chicks, 1 or 2. Bunge is showing you some clouds in the background, and as he's panning, that is how Olololo goes towards the boundary between Kenya and Tanzania. We all know the Masai Mara Game Reserve neighbors Serengeti National Park in Tanzania. Thick clouds and maybe huge wall of rain. And that is the southwestern side of the Mara. I would guess very close to Serengeti National Park. Now, this rainfall is what determines the movement of the wildebeest, because, of course, this will translate to food. So we have seen them like sensing rain, and it'll definitely, there's a lot of rainfall there, and that is when you'll get them moving. And if that rain stops there, and they would have started to see the direction of the walk towards that area, and then we get rains here, they make a very quick U-turn, and then they come back to us. Sometimes we see a lot of back and forth in movement of these animals, until finally you get the whole herd just moving down. Well, we're just time to move on and find out what could be seeing ahead of us. Good to see the Nubian vultures, which we don't see as frequently as the other vultures.
So, talking about vultures, we are still with these southern ground hornbills, and these two are still busy eating that terrapin. Now, I had a chance to look at it a little bit more carefully. They picked it up for a while, and we could make out that it looks like it's definitely a terrapin. Which one exactly, we're not sure. But I saw they've been tearing large chunks off, basically like vultures. And have a look at how that bird keeps stabbing right at the hole where the head and the front limbs come out. Well, that's the part that's most easily accessible. Well, unfortunately, they are at a distance, and you can see they're moving in behind that shrub. If they keep pulling that side, then unfortunately we will lose our good view. But from what it looks like they take turns where they stab, and then they try and pick the shell up, and then they toss it from side to side to try and break off large chunks of meat. As you can see, look at that one. And it's dragging it. And the weight of the shell and the rest of the carcass breaks off the pieces of it, which the bird will swallow whole. Now, I haven't seen the juvenile come in and try to get a piece of it himself. So, unfortunately, we don't have a very great view. I'm going to move a little bit forward, see if we might get a view, one more view. If not, I think we'll continue along to the watering hole. You can see there's the other one coming now. Laura, good question. It is called the southern ground hornbill, but this bird nests up in trees, usually a few meters off the ground, and they usually lay about 2 eggs. Out of those 2 eggs, usually only the one juvenile survives, which actually fledges. But they have a lot of other birds from previous years that hang around, and they usually stay with them until they are large enough to move off on their own. Now, I've just gotten another view, and they are off in the distance. They are quite far off. Unfortunately, we're in a bit of a tight spot here, so I'm going to move a little bit forward to see if we get another gap at it. Ooh, looks like there's a few more than I thought initially. There we go. Now I can see 4 of them. Initially I only saw 3. Now, if I have a careful look, I can see 3 of these birds, except that one second from the right. That one looks like the juvenile. And then 3 of these birds have already got the mature plumage. Now, in most cases, it's usually adult males that is the helpers that stick around with the group for a number of years before it moves off on its own. Have a look at that one. It looks like it's actually feeding the young one. You can see it held up that piece of meat high up in the air. And then just behind that branch, I saw the young one kind of move in quickly towards the other one as it spread its wings up. And it's just coming back. Jenna, that is a very good question. Why do they have red on their face? Now, I am not entirely sure, but I know that there is a couple of theories for that, and one suggests that it might be for an attraction of a mate. And usually you'll notice the females, their sac on their throat is not as prominent and only red as the male's one. It's usually got a little patch of blue within it. So to attract a mate might be the one theory, and I think the most accepted one. But if there is any specific function to the red color, I do not know. I will have to have a look and see what I can find. You can see now the others have joined. There's one big one moving off to the left now. You can see he's picking up things every now and again, and I don't know if it is bugs or beetles moving around, or maybe it is pieces that's been left behind as that terrapin's been dragged across the clearing. This is an amazing sighting. I have never watched such a family dinner, so to speak. But I'll sit here for a little while longer and see what they do.
Wild Earth relies on support from viewers like you to carry on broadcasting our daily live shows. A small donation goes a long way in helping us on our mission to connect the world with nature. Please visit our support page to see how you can help and become part of the Wild Earth family.
I promise I had a bird. It was somewhere. Can we see it? There it goes. That's a Burchell starling and a yellow-billed hornbill. Having a bit of a party. Lots of bird parties going on at the moment because jackalberries are fruiting. In fact, do you remember when we had the... Oh, here's another one. When we had the monitor lizards at Twin Dams Road? And I had framed up, or I wanted to show you a black-collared barbet, and just as you came to me, it got replaced by a crested barbet. That happened again today. I just looked down, looked up, and my black-collared barbet had turned into a crested barbet. So it is a challenge for me to get the black-collared barbet on screen. One of my favorite birds. It reminds me of being in KZN, where I was born. As for you, Burchell starlings, I don't see many of you around. At least not in my backyard. But in my new backyard, the backyard of the bush, well, not very new, but you definitely see plenty of Burchell starlings, plenty of yellow-billed hornbills, red-billed hornbills, all over the place. And I love the shape of their tail and their colors. Just gorgeous. Well, I'm heading into the Mulwati now. Hopefully we'll find some more birds, and I'm still after that python.
So we've left that warthog carcass earlier because it was not giving us anything. The lioness didn't come back. So we've come around towards the airstrip on Pinda and we found a side-striped jackal. Quite a special find. A nocturnal animal that we found during the broad daylight, just enjoying the afternoon sun. And the way that it's cooled up it flat, putting its head down. I wonder if there's maybe another side-striped jackal in the vicinity, as they are monogamous. Like most of the jackal species, they mate for life. So this might be a male or female. I'm not too sure because of the way that it's lying down. Look at the wind blowing its fur up, trying to make itself as small as possible with this cool wind that's blowing, but the sun is luckily nice and warm still. It is a little bit weary. Every now and then it picks its head up and just looks around, but there's quite a lot of monkeys actually running around on the airstrip here. And there's actually the fact that the jackal is not interested in them at all or anything like that. They are even less carnivorous than other jackal species. And this particular individual is probably hanging around this airstrip area because there's a lot of ground nesting birds around here also, but they are omnivorous and they have quite a large variety of things that they eat. We actually cheetah on an impala kill, and I think this might be the same one of the two jackal that was around the carcass there, maybe looking to get a bite from her, trying to scavenge from her, as they are quite territorial. So almost 99% sure that it is one of the fact that we had. Interesting to see if they maybe have pups this year, and if we can maybe find a little den site, maybe in a warthog burrow or something like that close by. So obviously enjoy lying down in the open grassland like this, because this individual can just pick its head up and look in any direction and see a predator. Jennifer ears are pointing backwards. I wonder if its mate is maybe close by. I wonder if the wind is also maybe blowing the scent of the wildebeest and maybe some other animals over it, and that's why it's listening and maybe smelling. Look at those. Decide a little bit to catch the last little bit of sleep before night.
Oh, very good to hear that there's a side-striped jackal, and one of the other creatures that we often see in the clearings over here, where we are looking at the southern ground hornbills, is the black-backed jackal. I know that there's two that in this particular clearing we sometimes see, and like these birds, they also have a couple of young ones with them at the moment. You can see that one that's throwing its head back now, finishing off the terrapin. Looks like they've been finishing it off. It looks like the two larger ones that started out feeding has moved off completely, and now they're just taking care of whatever's left there. That one has got a yellow throat patch still, and it's not quite as inflated as the other one on the left. Now that one could be a bird from one of the litters from previous years, and it is still moving with its family group or the breeding pair of the group, and maybe it helped them out raising this chick. I don't see any other ones as young as that one, so it makes me think that it's probably the only fledgling they had. You can see it's dragging it on the ground, but it's not shaking as violently. Maybe it's not quite as experienced yet. Even it's pecking, look, it's kind of like a half-hearted attempt. And you see the other one keeping its head low down, sliding its ball right in there, and then shaking vigorously. It looks like they're almost working together there. Anushka, I'm not sure of a specific breeding rate of these birds. I know in this particular year, we found that they had actually a pretty good rate from the ones that we've seen around this area. Most of the groups we see regularly have all had at least one fledgling survive, and I think that might be because of the good year of rain we had at the end of last year and the beginning this year. I do know that some research has shown that the breeding success is a little bit better in years with above average rainfall. And this bird, largely due to the loss of habitat, of people encroaching in areas where they are found, as well as large trees being destroyed, not just by animals, but also by changing climate factors. Their numbers have been going down quite a bit over recent years. I remember as a young boy coming to the Kruger National Park on family holidays, usually during the dry season of the June-July school holidays. We used to see them all over, and they used to be in decent-sized groups, at least 6, sometimes maybe more, along the roads, and you often saw them near the picnic sites and things. Unfortunately, largely due to people feeding them at points, which is definitely not wanted or legal. But then suddenly the numbers have dropped quite a bit. Now in Ngala we do see quite a few of them, which is pretty amazing, especially along the larger trees around the Timbavati riverbed. You can see that one still going at the last little bit. It looks like it's getting less and less large chunks out of there. And the rest of the group have moved completely out of sight at the moment. And they made pretty short work of this. And I think once they are done here and move on, I think we might also start moving on towards the watering hole.
excellent to see hornbills feeding, on terrapin. Most of the hornbills that I know of got very strong beaks. We've got particular hornbills here that we call the Abyssinian or the southern hornbills or ground hornbills that got very strong beaks like chisels, and they are also able to break shells or terrapins or tortoises. Now, I'm very lucky to get some cards for you, ladies and gentlemen, and we've got two girls there, and you can tell they're just enjoying the afternoon napping, as is very typical of most cats, and especially lions. These are two females, and they're two sisters, and the pride is called the Mogoro Pride. They got a male with them because not very far from here they had a kill yesterday and the day before. So I'm trying to imagine the boy or the dominant male with them is not very far from here. He could be around. And if you can tell how those girls are enjoying the nap, I'm sure the male must be sleeping even more. Excuse me. The grass behind them is what we call the elephant grass, and comes in very handy when it comes to make shades for these cats. And apparently, we don't see many flies that will be with that grass there. I don't know why she woke up and looking in that particular direction. We're only getting a few drops. It was spitting earlier, I'm sure you can see on your screen. Not sure if that is the concern or the wind, or she had something that she wasn't very comfortable with, or just changing her bed. Let's find out what she wants to do. Look at her belly. And all of us have been very convinced that these two females are pregnant. Of course, from the kill that they made a few days ago, they still got so much flesh in their bellies, but you can tell, that's, to me, not very normal size of a belly of a lioness. They could be carrying some cub or cubs with them. As much as it's still warm, I think that breeze helps to cool, to bring in some cool air. So this particular one is like, but the tail will keep, flicking once in a while. Carol, you're wondering the size of the territory of this pride. Of all the prides that I know of in the area we operate in of the Mara Triangle, this to me could have the smallest territory. It's about 10 square kilometers, and that's very small to me by any standard for a pride. But ideally, there are only two, so I think that is sufficient for them. Carol, I'm sure you have been following us. We know of a few other prides, like the Ololo Pride, which is massive and huge. They've got such a huge territory. And also we got my other favorite pride of lions, the Sausage Tree, that have maybe like 5-6 times as big this territory of these two girls here. I've been hoping one of the days to see either of these two females or both of them with cubs, because every time they mate, every time they're pregnant and they drop the litter or litters, somehow they lose them. I don't want to call them bad mothers, but either they're never lucky, but not sure it's something genetical, because both of them are sisters, and how both of them would lose litters, it's very interesting to me. Dark clouds in the background there. I was talking of spitting where we are. Could be a sign of rains to come, maybe tonight, maybe now, who knows. But these lionesses at the moment don't look bothered, and especially the one on the right will just flick the tail or the ear once in a while. Not once I've wondered, what goes on through the minds of these cats when they're in deep sleep. And are they light sleepers? Are they heavy sleepers? I've never understood when it comes to think. Because imagine anything like elephants would come, like now here. What they do, should the elephant see them, the first reaction for them is to trumpet. and I would want to see the reaction of this particular lioness. If it wakes up, does it wake up, fly, take off? Does it wake up, face the elephant, or it will just freeze and like, I'm done? I don't know. Maybe depending on its reaction, that could help explain whether they're light or heavy sleepers. Remember, you can tweet, comment, just like Carol, or any questions using hashtag WorldEarth, and we'll answer you in real time because we're coming to you live from quite a number of locations in Africa. For those of you who could be joining us now, we are in the Masai Mara Game Reserve of Kenya. Very, very sleepy. And if you look at the tummy, the belly is not very moving up and down. Chances of these lionesses having a white cub, I hope that was your question. I highly doubt, and I hope that was your question. And from the cubs you've been seeing here in East Africa, most of them are very, very normal. They go the normal, the normal routine where they will always, mate as usual, sometimes taking about 10 days, 12 days mating. And then, of course, the pregnancy will take about, 3 months, about 100 days, 102 days or so. And then they give birth. But what happens that they lose the cubs? We have no idea. But then thinking the two of them are sisters and both of them have been losing cubs every time they have a litter, could it be genetical? Maybe. Who knows? But I'm just hoping this time around, not sure when they were mating, not sure when, they'll be dropping the cubs, but when that happens, I would be happy to see them having cubs that will see the light of the day to maturity. We have been seeing a lot of crossovers of male coalitions and change of territories the last few months that we've been away from this area. And the current or the males that we left here that were in charge are not the ones that mated with these ones. A friend of mine told me the males that were mating with these particular lionesses came from the other side of the Masai Mara. We'll give them a few more minutes and see whether they're going to rise up and shine, and then if they don't, I'll chance on the male or look for something else.
I am in the Mowati at the moment, and I am practicing my Dylan. I'll show you even more of my Dylan. Here I am. I could be dancing on the dashboard for you, or on the bonnet. Are you impressed? Please be impressed. I just discovered that I could do this today. Especially in the Mowati, which I think is I can see why Dylan does it. I can definitely see why Dylan does it. It frees up your hands for a lot. You can look around. Self-drive bush vehicle, right? Although I can really only do this in the Mowati. Thank you. This is my best Dylan. We don't have Tswalu today, so ta-da! it's Dylan 2.0. KZ.
Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, once in a while we'll get these things happening. Being in the African wilderness, just to make sure that this is what we bring you to your rooms on your screens, it's not easy, and apologies, because once in a while we'll have issues and challenges with the signal. But luckily, I'm still with the lionesses. I had not gone. I just moved a little bit, and I thought one of the females was moving, and I said, why don't I wait and see if she moves? And at times when the female wakes up and yawns and stretches, she could have led us to where the male is. But then she changed her mind and she went right here, boom, where she was. Lions, anything 12, 14 hours sleeping. We have always had the notion that the males sleep the most, 15, 16 hours in a day. But along the way, the times we spend with these cats, we have found out that even females, if they got the right conditions, they have eaten well, they have drunk, everything just working well for them, they sleep at the same time, 16 or so 17 hours also in a day. I mean, it's not because they're females, they may not want to or they may not sleep, but if everything is working right for them, we have found out they sleep more or less like the male lions. But ideally, the males sleep more for some obvious reasons. The females, knowing they have the cubs, when they got cubs in a pride, they have to be alert, or would be other predators which might want to come and sneak and maybe catch one cub. That's one reason why they may not sleep as much. When it comes to looking for food or for prey, the females do the bigger job, and they're much better because we know they are a lot lighter when it comes to running. Males are heavier and not as quick runners. We're seeing some guinea hens somewhere on the right. I want Bungay to confirm for me if they are guinea hens, or rather guinea fowls, not guinea hens, guinea fowls. Bungay is the gentleman on the camera, and he might have had chick, 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 chick. I'm saying that because guinea fowls are very good when it comes to making alarm calls. This spotter cat, there's a particular call, and the call will always give away there's some sort of cat. Well, not always a cat. Sometimes when they see snakes, even for example snakes, or big raptors like eagles, they'll always alarm and will always know there's something interesting wherever they are. Beautiful feathers they normally get, and these are called the helmeted guinea fowls. And way back from the village I come from, should we have caught guinea fowls when we were small little boys, we used to make some very nice headgears with the feathers. And when there were celebrations, for example weddings, you'd get the bride having a very beautiful necklace made from these feathers. Apparently, they'll have their eggs on the ground, and boys being boys would sneak through the bushes a little bit, pick one or two eggs, not all of them, bring them home, put them together with the normal eggs for the domestic hens, and apparently they would hatch out. And if we would not have the guinea fowls out there making calls and the chicks that would hatch out, they would remain with us and they would never fly away. What I would never understand even now, I wonder, would they have lost their ability to fly? They would fly short distances a little bit, just like the normal chickens, but not like the wild guinea hens. See the blue neck there? Strange just to see 2 or 3 now. Maybe we'll see more, because they go in pretty big numbers. And what they're doing now, they're feeding on either some seeds or grass. Would you like to know how high can these birds fly? I'm trying to look at a height of anything from 6 to 10 meters. And I'm saying 6 to 10 because if they have no reason to go very high and they're just going to roost, anything 6 meters and above will always be good tree for them to roost for the night. Normally what they do at night, because they know they face so many dangers on the ground during the day, they'll always finish eating, finish the business, finish drinking, and just fly and take maybe particular trees they have chosen, depending on the number, and they'll spend the day there. If there's little concern, sometimes you see them going to trees over 10 meters, either looking around for would-be predators like big raptors, big birds, but anything 6 to 10 meters, they would just fly and set up for the night. During the day, it's very difficult to see them on trees. You'll always see them on the ground. Now that one lioness changed her sleeping style. She got all her legs now down. And funny, one sleeping facing the other way and the other one the other side and in opposite directions. Very cool breeze at the moment. The male is definitely very close from here. Being a new male that just took over this territory, should want to impress these girls and stay very close to them, providing some sort of, I would say, security, making them calm, making them everything's good. And the males that were here, that were in charge, mating with these females, were overthrown. And as much as you can see, that single male there is called Ololashe, not knowing exactly where he could be. He could be in those thickets there. Very good. And it's not bad to see lionesses and to see the guinea hens, which make a very good alarm calls. And what I want to do is to take one huge loop, and if I'm lucky, I might see the male for you. Okay, so we're going to try and move backwards. Is it good back there? Okay, so we're going to make a turn. There's a guy behind me. And again, if you're lucky, we might see the male for you. I told you his name's Ololashe. Let's cross fingers and find out what could be happening out there.
Over here it is very, very quiet. But it smells delightful, and you can see there's lots and lots of algae all around. My favorite bit of algae is just on that bunch of sticks. Just a little further up. It's hanging like a curtain on the top left. There we go. And yes, one is allowed to have their favorite bit of algae. And that is mine. It looks like a curtain. Can you imagine an Earth where skies are red, oceans are green, there's methane in the atmosphere, ammonia, all these crazy things that if we had to breathe it, we would certainly die. And then came along cyanobacteria. Algae is a very broad term for a whole lot of photosynthetic organisms. And cyanobacteria came along and pumped oxygen into our atmosphere. So really, we owe the existence and this kind of biodiversity that we get all over the planet to little tiny photosynthetic organisms like you're looking at. Putting oxygen into our atmosphere. KP, we got cut off. Unfortunately, when we were in the Mowati, it does have notoriously bad signal, but that's okay. You asked, what are the tall trees in Djuma? What are the tallest ones that we can get? Well, I think one of the tallest trees around is probably a fever tree. but we don't have any naturally occurring fever trees on Djuma. There are a few planted ones, but fever trees can get up to 30 meters or so. Knobthorns are also quite large, and that's about 20 meters. Leadwoods are around the same height. And I think that, I think a fever tree is probably the largest one. I'm not sure how large a jackalberry is, because I have stood next to a very large jackalberry, and I think that it was plus 20 meters tall, and I'd put that as the tallest tree that we have in Djuma.
So we have made it all the way back to the watering hole, looking for predators. And although we were looking for the ones on 4 feet, we came across another predatory bird, a bateleur. You can see it's sitting with its feet in the water, right on the water's edge. It's late afternoon now, and you can see from the ripples on the water that the wind has picked up a bit, so it's cooled down a lot. And from the looks of it, this bird has come and drink some water. Now this is something you do come across occasionally, and the watering hole is dead quiet. There's not too much other large animals around. We still haven't seen any sign of the lions. You can see there it goes again. A very small gulp of water. And at the same time it's also checking the area out carefully. You can see it's looking around constantly. There's actually a lot going on, even though it's quite a relaxed afternoon with not much else happening. There's a lot of bird activity around here. Cape turtle doves, the laughing doves, they're all coming down to have a drink now. And I think for this bird, one of the biggest things at the moment is not drawing too much attention. Because it's a predatory bird, you often have the smaller birds in the area come and pester and mob it while it comes for its afternoon drink. I saw one blacksmith lapwing around just now as well, which didn't seem too bothered by the bird. You can see, looks like some... Oh, there we go. Doesn't seem too worried at all. What an amazing scene. Normally, these large birds of prey, when they come for a drink or to bathe themselves, they're usually quite shy, and when we approach, you often see them fly off. So getting this one sitting and staying near the water's edge is actually quite a privilege. Now, because it's a bateleur, and this bird is a type of bird that flies very low, which gives it a good view of the ground, and because of that, it's often one of the first birds to spot dead animals from the air or a carcass. And in this case, we know that the lions were feeding around this watering hole the last 2 days. And yesterday, they managed to bring down a buffalo bull, which they killed and ate pretty much over an afternoon. And when we had a look there this morning, we saw that some of them were still there, but there's only bones left. And then this afternoon we didn't see any signs of them. Some of them were at the watering hole this morning, and I think they've moved off into the dry riverbed to the north of here. But it might be that that's why this bateleur is still around. Maybe it was one of the first birds at the carcass after the lions killed it, and hoping to pick up on any scraps that it might have been able to scavenge. Julia, this is a beautiful bateleur indeed. I'm just thinking about it now. It might also be there is, not far from here, there's a pair of bateleurs that's been nesting for a very long time. And this is the closest source of water for them. There's a dry riverbed that runs almost parallel to where this watering hole is. And over the last 4 years at least, I know that there's 2 different nesting sites. The one is in a very large marula, and then the other one was higher up in a large jackalberry. But the birds seem to have moved in the last 2 years. They've been in a different nest. So we also see a juvenile around at some points. Because of this watering hole here, I think it's probably one of the biggest reasons why they've chosen this spot. There's large clearings with an easy flying distance for them, and easy to see if there's any dead animals nearby. Riley, they have excellent eyesight. Now I know that with birds of prey, their photoreceptors is much, much more than humans. In fact, sometimes some of them even 4 times more. I do know that the bateleur, because it is an eagle, it's got excellent eyesight and it can spot things from far, far away. When it's flying up high, and the fact that it flies lower than most of the large birds of prey means that it's got an even better chance of spotting things. But to give you an idea, I've often come across areas where these bateleurs have picked up on something as small as a dead or a stillborn baby impala during the lambing season, where no other predator, not even the hyena, have sniffed it out yet. You see the bateleur go down, and if you go have a look, you find it's picked up on that. So it must have an extremely good eyesight. Exactly how far off you can spot things, I don't know exactly to put a number to it in terms of kilometers or meters, but it must be very, very far. You can see there's some water dripping from its beak. You can see the short tail as well. Oops. I guess it's a good spot to relieve itself. Must mean it's quite relaxed. Maybe it did have a bit to eat from the remains of that carcass. And the spur fowl at the back as well, pecking at the elephant dung, maybe looking for some Rosalind, is the Battalier related to any other eagle? I'm sure it is. I don't know exactly. Oh, and there it goes. I'm not sure exactly which. You can see, look at that, quite a short tail. The very, very well-known flight of the Battalier. So, Rosalind, to answer your question, I am not sure exactly what other eagles they are related to, but I know they fall within a group that used to be, or they used to be called the snake eagle as well. And that's with brown snake eagle and black-chested snake eagle. So I think we're going to move a little bit, see if we might pick up on any other signs of something nearby this watering hole or coming down to drink.
Well done to spot the Tswalu eagle, and I do not have anything in the air now, but I also got feathered friends on the ground here near this water source. Looks to me like a natural spring, and these are the Egyptian geese. Now, apparently I have a small debate, myself and Bungay is the gentleman on the camera, because we've been seeing some goslings in a different water source, and on arrival here, I thought they're the same, but Bungay is saying no, they're not. So what we need to do, all of us, is to count how many goslings you can see. We got both parents here, the male and the female, but I had counted 6 goslings. I do not know how many you can count, and of course you can let the final control know how many you can count. You can tweet to her, #WorldEarth, how many goslings are there, and she is definitely going to tell David how many they are, so that me and Bungay would agree. If there's 7, my guess would be it could be the other goslings we saw, because the other water source from where we are is about, 2 kilometers from here? They can fly, it could be a possibility, and currently feeding on the edge of the water. Seeds that they would get, any leaves from the grass or small little plants there. You can see how busy they are. Sometimes they cut stems of small plants too, and grass at the same time. This one looks bigger to me. Okay, let's count. Bungay, I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Randy, you say 8. Randy, you say 8. Then they could be different. Bungay, are the other ones always 7 or 8? How many? Well, if then they are 8, then Randy, you could be correct. This could be the same family we have been seeing. Well, someone else is 10, then if it's 10, then this is the wrong family. Ours remain where they were. One thing I would say, it could be a different family of 10 and the other ones are always 8. It is because these geese, or the Egyptian geese, are very territorial. And what I'm trying to say, this could be their area, though I've never seen them here before. And our 8 from the other water source are still there or in that particular area. And I can tell you, they will not share a territory. And these goslings to me look a little bit older, because when they are below, say, 3 weeks or so, they'll always be eating some planktons in the water and a small little plants that will be floating in the water. That's what they'll be feeding on. But here they look to be quite mature. They're eating more or less like the adults. You can see how worried either the mother or the father is there, or rather the male or the female. Just making sure that they're very safe. One is having a drink there. And they know the challenges they face. If a monitor lizard would show up like now, and knowing their speed, they could easily catch one and feed. Leopards have been known to catch them too. Huge birds of prey. Maybe something similar to what Randy had, the Tswalu eagle, but more or less bigger ones. The Marshall eagle are good candidates to catch these goslings here. where the marsh will just fly and just land on the quarry, crush it, and that's how it will then take off with spray. So one of the adults there, either the male or the female, you can tell it's very alert not to take any chances. So what we'll do, we try and turn, because I had seen some lapwings before. Not that any I can see currently, and maybe just move a little bit forward and see whether you could see different birds in this waterhole, because I mean, water is life. Bungi, just allow me to move forward a little bit, because I thought I had seen a spar-winged lapwing that was single somewhere, or we look at the same goslings at a different angle. It's getting a little dark. Just hold on for a minute, because I had seen either a lapwing or a black-headed heron. Just hold on one moment. And let me just give Bungay a good angle to see whether you can see the same lapwing that I thought I had seen before. Are you happy there, Bungay? More? Just hold on. A little bit more. Happy? Okay. Let's see if we're gonna get to a lapwing there. The goslings can tell they're quite busy eating, and the adults keeping a close watch, close look, that nothing goes wrong. Very good. There they are. The lapwing must have taken off, which is fine. We can still work out with these goslings at the moment. Yeah, that's exactly the area I had seen the spar-winged lapwing, but I think it must have gone. Seeing some white flowers there. That's one of the adults of these goslings. They never stay very far from them. And chances are mostly they are going to mature from this point before they relocate to another territory. The big trees you see in the background there, that's the Mara River. And I'm sure Bungay want to show you a huge storm that's coming like 12 o'clock, and that is, ooh. We're in August. It's not normal for us to have rains this month, but, you know, I've always said the weather patterns have been very erratic the last couple of years in East Africa and more so in Kenya. But just look at that. We can hear some thunderstorms from a distance. But luckily we are not going that direction. We shall be going more of northwest-ish, what Bungay area is showing you. So that's the area we'll be going, which looks quite clear. And that's the first sign of the Uluru escarpment you can see in the background there. And no clouds that are building there. The sky looks pretty cool. And that gives me the energy to go facing that direction and not towards the wall of the rain. Right, we're going to move slowly now and find out what we could be having ahead of us. The whole idea of baying the bush is just to keep moving, you know, keep moving, keep moving. You never know what will be around the corner.
And just like David says, you never know what you might find. And we were lucky enough to come across that very same bateleur. And you can see now she's perched up in a leafless marula tree. Now, right to the back of her, down on the horizon, there's a tree with a very, very green canopy. And that tree right over there, that is actually the tree with her nest in it. I've tried to have a look. I can't see the nest from where we are at this point. And it doesn't look like a large tree, but it actually is a really, really tall tree. It's one of the most prominent trees here, but we are up on a crest, and that's why it's lower down towards a dry riverbed. Now, I'm saying it's a she. And the reason for that is, if we have a careful look at the feathers, we can see she's got a rusty brown patch on her back. And also she's got the lighter grey feathers lower down on the wing, which is the coloration of the females. You can see what's interesting also is she's sitting with her back towards the sun at this point. And I wonder, even though we only saw her drinking down at the water, it's a good chance that she might have bathed a little bit. Now she's sitting up in the tree using the last of the afternoon's warm sunlight. She's preening herself a bit as well. I'm sure the male's not too far. Must be somewhere nearby, and even though you can't see it, well, it looks like she's actually cleaning her talons. What an amazing view, though. You can see she's not even looking at us. She's not, and we're not very far off from her, which is unusual. Usually large birds of prey perched in the trees close to the road will at least move away if we approach on the road, and this one is sitting dead still. Really heading in the direction, and she's just giving a glance up in the sky. You can see those very, very large round eyes. An indication of the keen eyesight this bird has. Looks like there's some flies bothering it. That's why it's shaking its head like that the whole time, puffing up its feathers, trying to get rid of it. This is interesting. I've never actually seen a fly bother a bird of prey. Nancy, that red skin on the face and the beak certainly looks like it glows once the sun's on it. And I think actually it makes it look even redder than it is at this point. It's a beautiful low-felt sunset, winter sunset, which is usually a reddish light. Kind of bathe the whole area within the red light late afternoon. So it is very, very beautiful. And besides having a good view of the area and being close to the nest, where it will more than likely roost, it might even roost in one of these trees nearby. Look at those long talons. Got a good scratch in there. It might be maybe one of the little flies tried to bite it. Or as it lands on the face, that part of the face is quite sensitive. Maybe it just itches. You can see a very, very sharp hooked beak for tearing flesh. And the Batelea is known for scavenging. Even an adult like this one scavenges. In some areas they reckon almost 2/3 of their prey items at least. You often find the pair perched together within the tree. I wonder what it's looking at. I know that where we are, there there's a number of open sections with good grass in this area, and there's also some impalas underneath. I can't see any at the moment. When we arrived there were a couple. You can actually hear one alarming at this very moment. I don't know what that was, but the noise we heard was the impala alarming, which sounds like a very loud sneezing noise, and it is a noise they make when they see predators, especially large predators like leopard, which is also part of why the bateleur usually nests nearby riverbeds, because I know this time of the year that's where they pick up on the chance to scavenge. Do birds have more feathers in winter than in the summertime, Joel? I don't know, actually. I think that there might be some birds that might have might get winter feathers, or at least get an increase in the down feathers, but not any that I can think of at the moment, or that I know of. And I know a lot of them, their feathers is adapted in a way that they can actually handle heat as well as cold very, very well. So that is something I have to have a look at and see if I can come up with an answer and get back to our viewers. It looks like at this moment that bird's literally just staring out over the riverbed. Maybe it's trying to see where its mate is at this point. There was a brief bit of excitement when that impala started calling, but what's very interesting though is like sometimes impalas see things moving through the thick bush, and when they're not sure what it is, they might even call at it, even if it is another impala that's not part of the group where it's feeding. And when we hear those alarm calls, we get very excited, thinking that it might be something like a big cat or a hyena. You can see the bird still being pestered by a few flies, but it doesn't seem so bothered or irritated with it now anymore. Maybe the little breeze is helping. You can see it's not too sure what to do. It's looking around in all directions down at the ground. I'm pretty sure it'll start settling in not too long from now. And I think maybe what we should do is we should also start moving along and maybe start having a look down towards the dry riverbed that's nearby. And that way we might see animals that are moving. Paul, that is a very, very quality moment we've had with this bateleur. It's interesting how we happened to find it again in this marula tree. It was busy drinking from the water, and when a bird flies off, you don't necessarily expect to find the same one again. The reason why I know that this, or why there's a good chance rather, I won't say for sure it is the same one, But why there's a good chance that it is the same one we saw is because it is the female, like the one that we were looking at the water. And these birds are highly territorial. In fact, they nest quite far apart from each other. So sometimes they'll be aggressive towards any other birds that might move into their area.
Wild Earth relies on support from viewers like you to carry on broadcasting our daily live shows. A small donation goes a long way in helping us on our mission to connect the world with nature. Please visit our support page to see how you can help and become part of the Wild Earth family.
I have found a wonderful setting sun. And while it sets, let's have a little moment or two or three of silence. Hopefully it won't be interrupted by the shouting Franklin off to the south. It's almost tucked behind the horizon. And like I've always said, nothing is quite as special as the African sunset and the African sunrise. The air smells like, that's a strange way, but it's the only way I can describe it. For those of you in the southern hemisphere, when Christmas comes along and it's really, really warm and you spend evenings outside with your families and it's still bright till 8 or 9 p.m., and there's this festive feeling in the air. A feeling of so much potential. So much excitement. And that's what it smells like. And that's what it feels like. Like the bush is going to explode very, very soon. Yvette, you say, absolutely amazing sunset. And with those wonderful words from Yvette, the sun has slipped away, leaving behind its the gorgeous pink, peach, orange hue. Gorgeous. And for this last half an hour of drive, I think I'm going to make my way to the hyena den. See if there's anything happening there. 5:30 always seems to be a good time for them. Maybe they'll be enjoying the sunset too. And only one way to find out, and that is to go and see them. So off we go.
So, like Trish is going towards the hyena den to see if they're there, we are driving slowly, enjoying the sunset ourselves, and we've just decided to head back towards the watering hole. It's cooled down completely now, and there is a chance that maybe those lions have come down towards the water to come and have a little bit of a drink at this point. There is, earlier on I thought they might have gone into the dry riverbed further north of the watering hole. And I think because they were so full, they would have been digesting most of the day today and from yesterday. Especially if they've still been feeding during the night on what little was left of that buffalo. Normally we find that lions do, after a big meal like a buffalo, they'll be very inactive, and for a day, sometimes 2 days, they might spend time within the area where they'll slow down their movements completely and basically put all the energy into digesting the massive amount of red meat that they've had. So just up ahead is that watering hole, and even if the lions have not come down, maybe we get lucky with another animal coming down for its later afternoon drink. You find some animals do come after the sun has gone down, before it's completely dark, and some of those animals give us quite the surprise sometimes. The predators do, especially on occasions. If we have a good look off towards our right, you can see the watering hole. You can just see some of the water already. And as we approach it, I'm approaching quite slowly, because if there is anything like kudu or something, I don't want to give it a fright and make it move off, because for animals this time of the year coming towards the water, especially if they know that there have been lions in the area, then animals will be very, very wary. They know it's a good time to set up an ambush.
There's Sutu giving us a walk by, and we're probably about 800 meters from the den. So still a while to go. We're up in quarantine. It looks like he might go down to the dam to drink. He was very, very All right, let's head down to the den. So the den is obviously not very far from camp. I'd say less than a kilometer from quarantine, which probably explains why so often they're around camp. They're used to this area. This is the time when I want to keep my eyes peeled for potential leopards. And I'll see you when I'm at the den, if a leopard doesn't stop me along the way.
And now we've come across this scene. And kind of like we're doing, you can see the nice big elephant bull. He's walked through the water at the back to reach that island, and it should be interesting to see if he goes deeper into the water. You can see that 2 hippos are staring at him. And I think they're wondering the same thing. Because the day was extremely hot, and a large animal like this elephant bull requires a lot of water on a warm day. I've often seen them come down late afternoon, and then they actually submerge themselves in the water completely. They actually come and they swim. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to happen now, but it would be a very, very nice thing to see. You can see he's just testing the water, drinking every now and again. He's putting his trunk down. He's actually just standing there at the moment. I think he's taking in his surroundings. It looks like he's using his trunk. He's touching his feet around the areas where it's wet. I'm sure our viewers would know, but sometimes if you get out of a swimming pool on a hot day, often have a little bit of an itch. I think he's just scratching there as well. HB, this is a very, very beautiful scene indeed. And it's amazing to see such large animals in the African bush. Just sharing this resource, so to speak, as this watering hole is. At this point, it's a very valuable resource, and an animal like this elephant bull would have come from far to come and have its late afternoon drink here. And I think that's why he's also so relaxed. You can see he's fiddling around with his trunk, but he's just standing still. He's not flapping his ears anymore. And that might be because he is in a bit of a dip, but there's cooled down. He's also poured water on his head and behind his ears. I can see it's wet from where I am. That's amazing. You can see it's almost like he's testing the water. He puts his trunk in, and then he's pulling it through the water, almost like it's sniffing it, and then putting it out a little bit further. I wonder why that would be. Oh, it just squirted that water out. It might be because he's been moving in that part of the water, and the water is so shallow that he's been kicking up a lot of mud. And maybe he was trying to have a look and see if he could find a little bit of a gulp that's cleaner than where he was standing. Normally, when these creatures are on their own, one of the first things people think about is that the animal might be in must, which is a state of hormonal turmoil. And it shows a lot of sexual aggression, as well as physical aggression to other animals, as well as the terrain, sometimes big trees. But this one, he doesn't look like he's in must. I think he's just a lone bull that's probably been moving not far from a big herd that was in the area. And because it was so hot, he's just cooling down. Ah, there we go. Just heard another elephant. Came from somewhere to the left of this watering hole, and it sounded like it might have been the call of one of the members of a herd, and not a bull elephant. So maybe this bull did come from that herd. Maybe it was walking around, found that herd and had a look at it. Maybe it was interested, moving amongst the members, feeding in that area as well, and then decided to make its way over to the water salon. I can see it standing still there, and it would have heard the others. Now I wonder if it's just waiting and listening out to see if it might hear them again. Definitely doesn't look in any hurry. You can see it's got its back left leg kind of kicked out in a very relaxed position. Although it's quite subtle, he's got the tip of his trunk up in the air and he is sniffing in the direction that noise came from. And there's also a slight breeze coming from the northwestern side. And I just heard a low rumble of some of the other elephants nearby. So I think he is definitely listening to them at this point. Even though we can't see them, and that he looks like he's not too affected by it, I think it's definitely making him stop every now and again to listen out and see what's happening there. Megan, I like your comment. This is a very chilled bull. I wonder if he'll stay that chilled. So my suspicion is in the direction that he's moving, somewhere along that dry riverbed. You can see as the big trees go further up there, they follow a dry riverbed. Somewhere in there, I think those lions might have gone to lay down for the day. And if he continues within that direction, who knows, he might come across them, and then I'm pretty sure he won't be so chilled. You can see every now and again it looks like he's stopping along the water's edge. There's also a lot of elephant dung from other herds and other elephants that came past during the day. I think he's stopping just to sniff and investigate as well. And we can see him casually disappearing into the tree line of the riverbed.
Imagine if he just appeared through this thicket. Wouldn't that be spectacular? Now, I have been to the den. It's inactive. But I'm just sitting out here on the road that leads to the den, or well, eventually, and listening and looking. a time when I hope that the silence will be broken by the sound of a leopard sawing, or a lion roaring, or hyenas whooping. I can hear ground hornbills very, 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 very faintly. They sound like this. Quite a deep sound. But nothing else just yet. Sarah, you'd like to know when we'll expect the seasons to change and the rains to come our way. The first early rains have come, but we expect that mid-October to mid-November is when it's going to start to spit every now and then. It's going to become a little bit more regular. And then we're expecting November, December for it to come down. More so December and Jan, with December being the main time. November, it's kind of warming up. It will rain, and it will rain often. But in December, you get those downpours. That's what we're looking forward to. As for the changing seasons, I think it's already turned over from winter. The air definitely feels it. Temperatures are climbing. New shoots are growing all over the place. Bees are buzzing. I saw a little frog even last night and the night before near my room. We even had a snake around camp. It looked like a Mozambican spitting cobra. So things are starting to move, and the bush is definitely starting to become more alive than it is in the winter.
And as we were looking at this bushveld scene with the sun setting, the elephant moved off into the dry riverbed. From that dry riverbed, we were lucky enough to see these very fat, full, more than likely smelly lions come out from behind the termite mounds and coming for a drink. Look at the size of those bellies. I'm sure they must be extremely thirsty after this hot day. And there comes the white one in as well. You see, looks like he's quite unsure where to put his face down to drink. Now, the most amazing thing is that while these lions are having a drink on this side, I heard the rumbles of the herd of elephants that came down, led by the matriarch, which looks like she's got a little bit of heat stress. They are coming down for a drink on their own. You can see, look at that trunk up. You can see, and she's got her head up high. Actually, all of the larger elephants here, how amazing is that? They're standing dead still and just taking in the scene. I'm not sure if these elephants can see those lions at this point, but she can definitely smell them. And I think there was somewhat of a concern because of that. I can see some secretions from their temporal glands. I think that might be because of the unexpected heat we've been experiencing the last couple of days, and maybe it's put on a little bit of stress, along with the stress for food and the general pressure on water this time of the year, with the herd coming in from all different areas. How amazing is that? Two different families, and both of these families have completely different agendas. Where the one's been pretty active during the day, all along the river courses in this area. The other one's not been doing much at all. Have a look at the hippo's reaction to those lines. You see it's just lifted its back. It's facing straight in their direction. Look at that young white lion looking straight at where the hippo is. Looks like, even though it was such a tranquil, such a relaxed scene, the presence of these lions upended the whole feeling around this watering hole now. And even though they're not making their presence a physical threat at this point, you can see the animals are slightly uneasy. Even the hippo has moved further away into the deeper water. And this matriarch is right in front in the direction of the lions. Lisa, this is awesome and wow. No other way to describe it for sure. It's amazing how this interaction is playing itself out. And it just goes to show how many different species are actually dependent on a watering hole like this. This matriarch knows that the younger ones in this group needs a lot of water. As we can see, they're having quite a long drink. I think they've had a look at the lions, and at this point she's realized that they don't pose any direct threat to them now, considering that they're at the opposite side of the riverbed. Even though she's got small babies like that. You see, she's also testing where the cleaner water is. Oh, the hippo's yawning in the back. There's a lot of excitement up now. I can see from the lion's side, it looks like I just saw the two youngest cubs also run into the scene. Yes, there they are. This is incredible. The other male has come down. Those two lionesses drinking right between their feet. Kind of like these elephants. Keeping the tiny baby elephant in between the larger elephants. Those lions are actually also keeping the two little ones in between, and those little ones are obviously so curious at this point. I think there's so much happening around this watering hole at the moment that most of these animals don't really know where to look. Kind of like us in a way. I don't know where to look. There's so much happening. But what an amazing day indeed. And there comes the Egyptian geese, also coming to settle in for the night. We've had an amazing day with lots of birds of prey, and finally all our efforts paid off with this amazing scene. Thank you so much to all our viewers, and I hope you can join us again tomorrow morning on our live safaris.
Oh, little one trying to make it up there. Well, big girl comes here. I love seeing them climb up. Oh, she almost splashed me.